Chosen one. If something recently did not work out the way you wanted, if a door closed, a person walked away, an opportunity disappeared, or a plan collapsed at the exact moment you thought it was finally happening, this message is for you. Rejection has a way of making everything feel personal. It makes you question your value, your timing, your decisions, and sometimes even your entire direction. You start replaying what happened. You ask yourself what you should have done differently. You wonder why something you wanted so badly was taken away or never given to you in the first place. But chosen one, sometimes rejection is not a verdict. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes the thing that did not choose you was never capable of carrying you where you needed to go. And the hardest part is that you usually cannot see that while you are still standing in front of the closed door. In that moment, all you can see is what you lost. You see the relationship that ended, the job that never called back, the opportunity that went to someone else, the plan that fell apart, the person who stopped choosing you. You do not yet see what that ending is protecting you from, what it is making room for, or what new path would have remained invisible if the old one had stayed open. This is why redirection often feels exactly like rejection at first. The meaning only becomes clear later. Think about some of the things you once desperately wanted that you are now grateful you did not receive. Maybe there was a person you thought you could not live without, but with distance you realized how much of yourself you were losing in that connection. Maybe there was a place you wanted to stay, but leaving forced you to discover something better. Maybe a plan failed and pushed you into a direction you would never have chosen voluntarily. At the time, it felt unfair. Later, it made sense. That pattern matters. Chosen one. Human beings become attached not only to people and opportunities, but to specific versions of the future. We imagine how something is supposed to happen. We create a timeline. We decide what success should look like, who should come with us, which door should open, and when everything should finally fall into place. Then life changes one piece of the plan, and suddenly we feel lost. But sometimes the problem is not that life is falling apart. The problem is that we became emotionally committed to one route and forgot that there may be another. Redirection asks you to release the route without giving up on the destination. That is difficult because familiar disappointment can feel safer than unfamiliar possibility. You know how to grieve the closed door. You do not yet know what is behind the one you have not found. So you stay mentally attached to what rejected you. You keep checking. You keep replaying. You keep wondering whether you can somehow reopen it. And sometimes you can. But the deeper question is whether you should. Chosen one. Not everything that leaves your life needs to be chased. Not every no needs to become a challenge. Not every person who withdraws deserves another explanation. Not every opportunity that closes is something you need to force open. There is strength in knowing when persistence is courage, and when persistence is attachment. Those two things can look very similar from the outside. The difference is what happens inside you. Courage still leaves room for reality. Attachment keeps trying to make reality obey your expectation. And when you are deeply attached to one outcome, rejection becomes terrifying because it feels like the end of possibility. But it is rarely the end of possibility. It is usually the end of one possibility. That distinction can change everything. Chosen one, some of the most important redirections in your life will arrive disguised as disappointment. You may lose access to people who only fit an older version of you. You may be denied environments where you would have had to shrink yourself just to survive. You may be removed from plans that looked impressive, but would have drained you. You may experience delays that force you to build patience, skill, independence, or clarity before the next opportunity arrives. This does not mean every painful event has a magical explanation. It means pain can still become useful information. You can ask, what is this showing me? What did I overlook because I wanted this so badly? What is now possible because this ended? What direction have I been refusing to consider? These questions move you from helplessness into awareness. They do not erase the disappointment, but they stop the disappointment from becoming your entire identity. Chosen one, rejection becomes especially dangerous when you interpret it as proof that you are not enough. One person does not choose you, so you decide you are unlovable. One opportunity disappears, so you decide you are incapable. One plan fails, so you decide you are behind. That is how a single event becomes a story about your whole life. But events are not identities. A closed door can mean many things. Wrong timing, wrong fit, different priorities, limited space, incompatibility, circumstances you cannot see. It does not automatically mean you are not worthy of entering. And even when there is something you need to improve, growth is very different from self-rejection. You can learn without destroying your self-respect. You can ask what needs to change without deciding that everything about you is wrong. Chosen one. Sometimes redirection begins the moment you stop asking, why did this reject me? And start asking, where is this trying to move me? That question creates motion. It pulls your attention away from the locked door and back toward your own life. Maybe the answer is not immediately clear. That is okay. Redirection does not always arrive with a sign pointing toward the next destination. Sometimes it begins with empty space, a cancelled plan, a quiet phone, a calendar that suddenly looks too open, a relationship that no longer takes up your emotional energy. At first, the emptiness feels uncomfortable. Then you begin to notice how much room it creates. You have time to think, time to rebuild, time to try something you kept postponing, time to meet different people, time to notice opportunities you were too distracted to see before. This is why some endings become turning points. They return your attention to yourself. Chosen one. You may also discover that some things rejected you because you were trying to enter them as a version of yourself that was already disappearing. You were still asking an old world to approve a new identity. You were still trying to receive validation from places that only understood who you used to be. And when that approval did not come, it hurt. But maybe approval from that environment would have kept you there longer. Maybe being accepted would have delayed the very transformation you were trying to reach. Sometimes rejection breaks an attachment that you are not yet strong enough to break yourself. That is why the loss can feel brutal and freeing at the same time. Part of you is grieving what ended. Another part knows something had to change. Listen to both. Chosen one, this does not mean you should sit passively and call every setback fate. Redirection still requires action. If one path closes, you have to be willing to move. You have to apply somewhere else. Speak to someone new. Learn the skill. Change the plan. Leave the environment. Start again. Redirection is not waiting for life to carry you somewhere while you remain frozen. It is recognizing that your energy is better spent building the next path than begging the previous one to reopen. And that shift can be powerful. You stop chasing people who have already shown you they do not want the same connection. You stop trying to convince environments to value what they consistently overlook. You stop forcing timelines that are clearly collapsing under pressure. You begin to work with reality instead of constantly fighting it. That is not giving up. That is discernment. Chosen one, pay attention to what rejection reveals about your attachments. Sometimes what hurts most is not losing the thing itself. It is losing what you believed it represented. Maybe that person represented being chosen. Maybe that job represented success. Maybe that opportunity represented proof that you were finally moving forward. When it disappears, you feel like the meaning disappeared too. But the meaning was never owned by that one thing. Love is larger than one person. Success is larger than one job. Progress is larger than one timeline. Belonging is larger than one room. Once you understand that, you become much harder to trap inside one closed door. You still care. You still grieve. But you do not collapse. You remember that your future has more than one entrance, and chosen one. Sometimes the redirection is not towards something bigger. Sometimes it is towards something more honest. That matters. We often assume the next chapter has to look more impressive than the previous one. More money, more attention, more status, more recognition. But sometimes redirection moves you towards simplicity, peace, better health, stronger boundaries, different priorities, a quieter life that actually belongs to you. If you only measure redirection by whether it produces something visibly larger, you may miss the most important changes. Maybe the next path is not louder. Maybe it is simply more aligned. Chosen one, if you are still hurting from rejection right now, you do not have to pretend you are grateful for it. You do not need to force yourself to call it a blessing before you understand what happened. Let yourself be disappointed. Let yourself grieve the future you imagined. But do not build a permanent home inside that disappointment. Leave some space for the possibility that you cannot see the whole picture yet. Leave some space for another route, another person, another opportunity, another version of yourself. There are moments in life when a closed door is simply a closed door. And there are moments when that door is the exact reason you finally turn around and notice the hallway behind you. You notice choices you ignored before. You notice how long you were standing still. You notice that the world did not end when the answer became no. In fact, movement may finally become possible. Chosen one, maybe you are not rejected from your future. Maybe you are redirected away from a version of it that was too small, too draining, too dependent on someone else's approval, or simply no longer yours. You may not know where the new road leads yet. That is the uncomfortable part. But uncertainty is not the same as failure. Sometimes uncertainty is the first honest space you have had in a long time. So stop measuring your worth by doors that did not open. Stop asking people who walked away to explain your value back to you. Stop assuming that one failed plan has the authority to define your entire direction. Take the information, take the lesson, take your energy back, then move. Slowly if you need to, carefully if you need to, but move. Because the moment you stop treating rejection as the end of your story, you become available for redirection. And sometimes, chosen one, the path you never planned becomes the one that finally takes you where you were trying to go.